A stranger asked if I was scared, and I didn't know how to answer honestly. I work night security at the Meridian office complex downtown, 12 floors of accounting firms and law offices that shoal. I took the night security job at the Meridian office complex against my better judgment. Faith had warned me not to, said there was something wrong with that place. We broke up 2 weeks later. The job seemed easy enough at first. Clock in at 10 p.m., walk the halls, check the doors, watch some Netflix, and clock out at 6 a.m. The building was always empty after 9 p.m. Always unnaturally quiet. That was the first thing that bothered me. Office buildings usually make noise even when empty. Air conditioning, elevator mechanics, something. Meridian didn't. I established a routine by my second week. First floor sweep at 10:30, second at 1 a.m., third at 4 a.m. The rest of the time I sat at the security desk watching shows on my laptop. Devin, the maintenance supervisor, filled me in on the building history during my third shift. He mentioned the previous night guard, Nolan, had quit without notice about a month before I started. Just disappeared, Devin said while fixing a flickering light in the lobby. Left his badge and everything. Management doesn't like to talk about it. Janelle, the property manager, gave me strict instructions during orientation. Floors 8 through 12 were strictly off limits after hours, no exceptions. The tenants on those floors have enhanced security protocols, she explained without making eye contact. Your access card won't work there anyway. I found that odd. My job was to secure the entire building. How could I do that if I couldn't access 5 whole floors? I discovered old employee records in a filing cabinet behind the security desk during my first week. Several mentioned unusual incidents on the upper floors. All were dated over 5 years ago. Last Tuesday started like any other night. I clocked in at 10 p.m., grabbed my flashlight and radio, and began my first rounds. The building felt emptier than usual somehow. I checked every accessible floor twice before midnight. Nothing unusual, just empty offices and dark conference rooms. Around midnight, I took the elevator up to check the 7th floor again. The elevator stopped, despite me not pressing the button. The doors opened. A middle-aged man in a dark suit stood there. He carried a briefcase and smiled politely as he stepped inside. I was startled. Going down? I asked, trying to sound professional. The building should have been empty. Up, he replied, pressing the button for the 10th floor. His voice was calm and gentle. We rode in silence for a few seconds. Then he turned to me. Are you scared yet? He asked, still smiling. The elevator felt suddenly colder. Excuse me? I managed to say. My throat was dry. Good. Hold on to that feeling, he said as the doors opened at the 10th floor. It will keep you alive longer than the others. He stepped out and walked toward the Kessler & Associates office. I was too stunned to follow immediately. When I did exit the elevator, the hallway was empty. I checked the security logs when I got back to the desk. No card access to the 10th floor had been recorded after 6 p.m. The man shouldn't have been able to enter that office. I called my supervisor, Marcus. He didn't answer, which was unusual. His policy was to always be available for night staff. Around 1 a.m., I started hearing noises from the upper floors, footsteps, doors closing, voices murmuring just below the threshold of understanding. I tried to convince myself it was just the building settling. Old buildings make noise, but Meridian was only 15 years old. At 2 a.m., I decided to do a full building sweep. The 3rd floor was completely dark when I stepped off the elevator. I shined my flashlight down the hallway, checking each office door. Then I saw it, lights spilling from under the door of what used to be Hartman Insurance. They had moved out 6 months ago. The office should have been empty. I approached slowly, listening. I heard typing, phones ringing, people talking, a fully functioning office in the middle of the night. My access card didn't work on the door. I knocked, confused and increasingly nervous. The office sound stopped immediately. Through the frosted glass, I saw silhouettes of people standing at desks. Then, as one, they all turned toward the door, toward me. A woman approached from the other side. Through the glass, I could see her mouth moving. She looked terrified, pointing behind me. I spun around. Nothing was there. When I turned back, the Hartman Insurance office was dark and empty again. I practically ran back to the elevator. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely press the button. When the doors opened, every floor button was lit up. The elevator began stopping at each floor, showing me impossible things. The 4th floor had a completely different layout than it should. The 6th floor was flooded with 3 inches of water. At 4 a.m., I was genuinely terrified. I called Marcus again and got his voicemail. I tried the main security company number. This number has been disconnected. An automated voice informed me. I tried calling other contacts from the emergency list. Some numbers didn't work at all. Others connected to people who had never heard of Meridian Security Services. The elevator stopped at a floor I didn't recognize. The button panel showed B for basement, but I didn't know the building had a basement level. The doors opened to darkness. A long hallway stretched before me, lit by emergency lights that flickered erratically. At the end stood the man in the suit. "Welcome," he said, his voice echoing impossibly. "We've been waiting for you to notice." The elevators started moving on their own around 4:30 a.m. I watched from the security desk as the indicator lights flickered between floors. No card access had been logged. I tried calling Marcus again, straight to voicemail. This violated his always available policy. He drilled into every guard during training. "Marcus, it's me. Something's seriously wrong at Meridian. Call me back immediately." My voice sounded strained even to my own ears. Phones started ringing throughout the building, first on the 2nd floor, then the 5th. I followed the sounds, but each time I reached an office, the ringing stopped. I returned to the security desk and pulled up the camera feeds. What I saw made no sense. The layouts on several floors were completely different than they should have been. The third floor showed a massive open workspace where I knew there were individual offices. The seventh floor camera displayed a conference room that extended beyond where the exterior wall should be. I called Cole, our IT security specialist. He answered on the fourth ring, sounding groggy. Cole, I need you to remote in and check the security cameras at Meridian. Something's wrong with the feeds. I tried to keep my voice steady. At 5 in the morning, this better be good. He sounded annoyed, but I heard typing in the background. 5 minutes later, Cole called back. Dude, what the hell is going on there? The footage from the last 3 nights is completely corrupted. What do you mean corrupted? I asked. Like someone ran it through a blender. Images overlapping, timestamps jumping around, and there's footage of areas I don't recognize. Cole's voice had lost its annoyance, replaced with genuine confusion. I decided to check the third floor again. The elevator took me there despite not pressing any buttons. When the doors opened, I froze. Hartman Insurance was fully lit and bustling with activity. Dozens of people worked at desks, talking on phones, typing at computers. At 5 a.m., I approached slowly. Through the glass door, I could see the Hartman logo on the wall. The office that had been empty for 6 months was somehow fully operational. I tried my access card again. The door clicked open this time. I stepped inside, and every single person stopped what they were doing. They turned toward me simultaneously. Their faces were blank, expressionless. Not a single one blinked. A woman near the door approached me. Her name tag read Karen. She moved stiffly, like a marionette. She mouthed words I couldn't hear, pointing frantically behind me. Her eyes widened with genuine terror. I spun around. The hallway was empty. When I turned back, the office was dark and abandoned. Dust covered the desks. Moving boxes sat unopened in the corner. I ran back to the elevator. My hands shook so badly I had to press the lobby button 3 times before it registered. In the lobby, I found an old newspaper wedged behind the security desk. The headline caught my eye. 7 workers die in Meridian construction accident. The paper was dated 15 years ago, when the building was being constructed. I scanned the article quickly. 7 workers had fallen to their deaths when a floor collapsed during construction. I pulled out the building blueprints from the security office. Something didn't add up. The official plans showed 12 floors, but counting the windows from outside, there were 13. I tried calling 911. The call wouldn't connect. I tried my personal contacts. Nothing. Each attempt met with static or disconnected messages. Around 5:30 a.m., the temperature in the building plummeted. My breath came out in visible clouds. The lights throughout the complex began to flicker in a pattern. 3 short flashes, 3 long, 3 short again, over and over. The elevator doors opened. The man in the dark suit stepped out, still carrying his briefcase. He looked exactly the same as before. You're starting to understand now, aren't you? He smiled pleasantly. The building has chosen you, just as it chose Nolan before you. What the hell are you talking about? Who are you? I demanded. I'm the custodian, for lack of a better term. He straightened his tie. And if you want to survive until morning, you'll need to follow the pattern. What pattern? I asked. The building will show you. He gestured around us. Pay attention to what it wants you to see. He walked toward the front doors and vanished, not through them, into them, like he'd stepped sideways out of reality. The lights continued their pattern. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. I suddenly realized it was Morse code. SOS. The building was sending a distress signal. The temperature dropped further. Ice crystals formed on the security desk. The computer screens flickered between camera feeds, showing impossible things. People walking through walls. Empty offices suddenly full of workers from different decades. Water flooding corridors that were completely dry seconds later. I found myself drawn to the elevator again. This time, the only button illuminated was B for basement. I didn't have a choice. I stepped inside and pressed the button. The elevator descended past where the basement should be, continuing downward for what felt like minutes. When the doors finally opened, I was facing a long corridor lit by flickering fluorescent lights. At the end stood a door marked Maintenance Records, Authorized Personnel Only. Behind me, the elevator doors closed and the car departed, leaving me alone in the impossible basement. I had nowhere to go but forward. I decided to search the entire building and document everything I found. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness as I moved through the lobby. I needed answers. I took the stairs instead of the elevator this time. The stairwell was unnaturally cold, my breath visible in front of me. The second floor seemed normal enough. Empty cubicles and conference rooms sat in darkness. Nothing unusual there. The third floor still showed signs of Hartman Insurance's impossible appearance. A coffee mug sat on a desk that had been empty minutes earlier. It was still warm. I continued upward. The fourth floor stopped me in my tracks. I stepped into what looked like an office from the 1970s. Wood-paneled walls surrounded ancient-looking desks with typewriters. Green shag carpeting covered the floor. The calendar on the wall read June 1974. A computer terminal in the corner glowed with a green cursor. It was still running some kind of program. The technology was decades old but functioning perfectly. I snapped photos with my phone. The flash illuminated more impossible details. Ashtrays full of cigarette butts. Newspapers with headlines about Nixon's resignation. The fifth floor was completely empty. No furniture, no dividing walls, just a massive open space with windows looking out on a city skyline that wasn't mine. I recognized the Empire State Building in the distance. We were nowhere near New York. The sixth floor remained flooded with water. It sloshed around my ankles as I waded through. The water was ice cold and seemed to be coming from nowhere. Physics didn't allow for this. The floor below was completely dry. The water simply existed here, defying explanation. In the corner office, I found something that made my blood run cold. A security badge floating in the water. I fished it out with trembling fingers. The photo showed a man in his 30s. The name printed beneath read, Nolan Jenkins, security, the previous guard who had disappeared. I pocketed the badge and continued my search. The 7th floor had transformed into a hospital corridor. Empty gurneys lined the walls. Medical equipment beeped and whirred despite being connected to nothing. Charts hung from doors with patient names I didn't recognize. The elevator dinged behind me. I spun around to see all the buttons illuminated at once. The doors opened invitingly. I hesitated, then stepped inside. The panel now showed dozens of buttons that hadn't existed before. Basement levels B1 through B12 were now options. I didn't press anything. The elevator moved on its own, descending past where any basement should be. The digital floor indicator showed negative numbers beyond B12. The descent lasted nearly a minute. When the doors finally opened, I faced a massive room filled with technology unlike anything I'd ever seen. Walls of monitors displayed different versions of the building. Some showed the Meridian I knew. Others displayed completely different structures on the same site. In one, the building was a hospital. In another, a hotel. A third showed it as a residential tower, all existing simultaneously in the same space. The suit man stood in the center of the room, watching the monitors with casual interest. He turned as I entered. "Welcome to the heart of Meridian," he said. His voice echoed strangely in the cavernous space. "Few guards make it this far." "What is this place?" I demanded. "What's happening to the building?" "Not to the building," he corrected. "The building is exactly what it's always been, a threshold between realities." He gestured to the monitors. "Meridian exists at the intersection of multiple dimensions, different versions of the same location, overlapping in space but not in time." "That's impossible," I said, though I'd seen enough to know better. "Is it?" He smiled. "You've seen offices from the past, floors that defy physics, people who exist and don't exist simultaneously." He approached a control panel. "Every few decades, the barriers between these realities thin. The building requires a custodian to maintain order." "Nolan was supposed to be that custodian," he continued, "but he refused the responsibility, as did others before him." "What happened to them?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "They were removed." His smile never wavered. "The building cannot tolerate rejection. Those who see beyond the veil must either accept their role or be eliminated." The room shuddered suddenly. Monitors flickered and alarms began blaring. The suit man frowned. "We're running out of time," he said. "The cycle is completing. You must choose now." "Choose what?" I backed toward the elevator. "To become the new custodian, to maintain the barriers between worlds." He opened his briefcase, revealing a strange device pulsing with blue light. "Or face removal." The building shook violently. Cracks appeared in the walls, revealing swirling voids of color and light beyond. "The dimensional shift has begun," he said calmly. "Without a custodian, Meridian will collapse, taking everyone inside with it." A voice called my name from the elevator. I turned to see a woman standing there. "Faith." "Don't listen to him," she shouted. "There's still time to get out." The suit man's expression hardened. "The previous failure returns. How unexpected." "He's lying." Faith grabbed my arm. "I was the custodian before Nolan. There's a way out." The building shook again, more violently. Pieces of ceiling crashed down around us. "Choose now," the suit man demanded. His form flickered, revealing something inhuman beneath his human disguise. "Become the custodian or die with the rest." Faith pulled me toward the elevator. "We have 2 minutes before the cycle completes. We need to reach the lobby." I made my decision. I ran with Faith into the elevator. The doors closed, just as the suit man lunged toward us, his human form dissolving into something with too many limbs. The elevator shot upward at impossible speed. Faith punched buttons frantically. "I got out 3 months ago," she explained breathlessly. "I've been trying to warn people. That's why I dated you, why I warned you not to take this job." The elevator stopped suddenly between floors. The lights flickered as the building continued to shake. "He's trying to stop us," Faith said. She pried open the doors, revealing a hallway that shifted and changed before our eyes. "We need to find the stairs." We ran through corridors that twisted impossibly. Doors led to other versions of Meridian. Office workers from different decades reached for us as we passed. Behind us, the suit man pursued. His form shifted between human and something else, a dark mass of tentacles and eyes that moved through walls. "The pattern," I shouted, remembering his words. "Follow the pattern." The lights still flashed in Morse code. Sus. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. I followed the sequence, turning at each junction accordingly. Faith kept pace beside me. "The lobby is our only chance. The threshold is weakest there during the shift." We burst into a stairwell that spiraled downward farther than physically possible. The steps beneath our feet became transparent, showing other versions of the building below. The suit man's voice echoed all around us. "You cannot escape Meridian. You are part of it now." We kept running, the building fracturing around us as reality itself began to tear apart. Faith and I burst into the lobby as the building shook violently around us. The marble floor cracked beneath our feet. Glass fell from the windows like deadly rain. "The doors!" Faith shouted, pointing toward the main entrance. "We need to get outside before the cycle completes." I ran toward the glass doors. Faith closed behind me. I pushed against them, but they wouldn't budge. I tried my security card. Nothing happened. "They're locked," I yelled. The entire building groaned like it was in pain. Faith pushed past me and tried the doors herself. They suddenly swung open, but instead of the parking lot, we faced a busy 1,952nd street scene. People in vintage clothing walked past, completely unaware of us. Wrong reality. Faith slammed the doors shut. "Try another exit." We sprinted toward the service entrance. The floor rippled beneath us like water. Walls bent at impossible angles. Time itself felt stretched thin. The service door opened to reveal a futuristic cityscape with flying vehicles and gleaming towers. Definitely not our world. I slammed it shut. We're running out of time. Faith's voice was desperate. The building is cycling through all possible realities. The suit man appeared at the far end of the lobby. His human disguise was failing, revealing glimpses of something monstrous beneath. He moved toward us with unnatural speed. You cannot escape, he said, his voice echoing from multiple directions. The building has chosen you. Accept your role. Faith grabbed my arm. There's one more exit we can try. The loading dock. We ran through a corridor that kept changing around us. Office walls became hospital, halls became hotel rooms. The building was cycling through all its possible configurations. The suit man pursued us, gliding across the floor without actually walking. His briefcase had transformed into something organic and pulsing. He's lying to you, Faith said as we ran. I was the custodian before Nolan. I found a way out, and you can too. We reached the loading dock doors. I slammed my hand against the emergency release. The doors began to rise slowly. You were the custodian? I asked, suddenly suspicious. Why didn't you tell me that before? Faith's expression changed. Something cold and calculating flashed in her eyes. Because I needed you, she said. I needed someone to take my place. The truth hit me like a physical blow. You're working with him. This was a setup. Faith smiled, but it wasn't the smile I remembered. Not with him. Against him. The building needs a custodian. If not you, then they'll come after me again. The loading dock doors revealed our correct reality outside. The parking lot, my car, freedom. But Faith stood between me and escape. I'm sorry, she said, not sounding sorry at all. But better you than me. The building shook more violently. Chunks of ceiling crashed down around us. The dimensional barriers were failing completely. Faith lunged toward me. I sidestepped just in time. She stumbled forward, momentarily off balance. I made a split-second decision. I hit the emergency alarm button on the wall. Red lights flashed throughout the building. Steel security shutters began descending over all exits. Standard protocol for building lockdown. No, Faith screamed, diving for the narrowing gap beneath the loading dock door. She made it through, just as the shutter slammed down. The suit man appeared beside me, his form shifting between human and monstrous. Clever, he said, but you've trapped yourself as well. Maybe, I said, but I'd rather face you than be betrayed again. He smiled, revealing too many teeth. The building is collapsing. Without a custodian, all realities housed within Meridian will be destroyed. I backed away from him. There has to be another way out. My hand brushed against something in my pocket, Nolan's security badge, and something else, a maintenance key I'd taken from Devon's office during my search. The suit man advanced slowly. Become the custodian, save Meridian, save yourself. I pulled out Devon's key. It was old and brass. Unlike the electronic cards we use now, the tag attached to it read, Emergency Exit. What is that? The suit man's confidence wavered for the first time. A way out, I said, turning toward a door marked Maintenance that I'd never noticed before. The suit man lunged toward me. No! I slammed the key into the lock and turned it. The door swung open to reveal a normal stairwell leading down. I didn't hesitate. I ran through and pulled the door shut behind me. The suit man's inhuman scream was cut off as the lock engaged. The stairs led to a tunnel beneath the building. I ran as fast as I could, feeling the structure collapsing above me. The tunnel seemed to go on forever. Finally, I saw light ahead. I emerged into early morning sunshine, in a park across from where Meridian stood. I turned just in time to see the impossible. The entire Meridian building folded in on itself like origami, shrinking until it vanished completely. Where the 12-story structure had stood was now an empty lot. People walked past, completely unaware of what had happened. No one seemed to notice that an entire building had just disappeared. 2 days later, Detective Xavier interviewed me about the incident at Meridian. He didn't believe a word I said. Buildings don't just vanish, he said, closing his notebook, and we have no record of any security company employing you. I called Marcus after the interview. The number was disconnected. I went to the security company office. The building existed, but the company didn't. A week passed. I drove downtown, past where Meridian had stood. I stopped my car in shock. The Meridian was back, but completely different. Now it was a gleaming residential tower with a different name. People entered and exited as if it had always been there. I watched a man in a security uniform enter through the front doors for the night shift. He looked nervous, checking his watch as he went inside. I almost got out of my car to warn him. Almost. On my way home, I stopped at a red light. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I opened it to find a security camera image. It showed the lobby of the new Meridian building. In the window reflection, I could see the suit man watching, waiting for the cycle to begin again. I deleted the message and drove away. Some warnings aren't meant to be heeded. Some cycles can't be broken. At least, that's what I tell myself so I can sleep at night.